For thousands of years, survival was enough. To wake up, to breathe, to find food before nightfall. That was life. No plans for tomorrow, no memories older than the last fire. But something began to change. Not suddenly, not loudly, quietly, almost unnoticed. And when it happened, humanity would never be the same again. At first, there was only the land, wide plains stretching beyond sight, cold rivers cutting through stone, endless skies that offered no answers. Primitive humans moved carefully through this world. They did not try to conquer it. They learned how to exist within it. Every morning began with uncertainty. Every night ended around firelight. Faces shaped by wind, hunger, and time. Hands hardened by stone and labor. They watched the animals closely. They learnt their paths. They waited, patiently, because patience meant survival. Hunting was not chaos. It was coordination. Bodies lowered into the grass. Breaths held. Eyes fixed on movement in the distance. Every step was calculated. Every sound controlled. A single mistake meant hunger. A single success meant life. When the hunt ended, there were no cheers, no celebration, only silence and relief. The animal was carried back together, the weight shared, the reward divided. No one took more than another. Not yet. At the fire, meat roasted slowly. Fat dripped into the flames. Smoke rose into the darkening sky. Children watched from the edges. They learned without being taught. This was how knowledge survived. As seasons passed, movement slowed. Shelters were repaired instead of abandoned. Fireplaces were used again and again. Primitive humans began returning to the same places, not because they planned to settle, but because it worked. Hides were stretched and scraped. Stone tools were sharpened and reused. The land began to feel familiar. For the first time, life extended beyond today. With familiarity came rhythm. Water was gathered at dawn. Food prepared before sunset. Children played near the shelters. Elders watched silently. Their presence carried weight. Not authority, but memory. At night, the stars felt closer. The fire burned steadier. Between them grew something new, safety. But safety always demands something in return. One day, someone pressed seeds into the soil. Not by accident, by watching. They had seen plants return to the same places. They had noticed patterns. Weeks passed. Then green appeared. Small, fragile, but undeniable. The land began to give back. Not once, but again. Food was no longer only found. It was grown, and with that, time itself changed. With growth came abundance. More food than needed for a single day. More than could be eaten at once. It was stored, protected. For the first time, hunger could be delayed. And for the first time, someone decided who ate first. It happened quietly. A gesture, a look. Others noticed. Not everyone worked the soil. Not everyone hunted. Some watched. Some organized. Some stayed close to what mattered. Stone piles marked storage. Baskets were counted. The fire still burned for everyone, but its meaning was changing. At night, voices grew softer. Eyes stayed open longer. Fear returned in a new form. Storms destroyed crops. Animals disappeared. People died without warning. Questions filled the air. Why did this happen? Who was responsible? The silence demanded answers. And someone stepped forward, not with strength, not with weapons, but with certainty. The rituals began at night. Fire at the center, bodies forming circles. Drums made from hollow wood echoed into the darkness. Feet moved in rhythm. Symbols were carved into stone. Marks left on cave walls. A figure stood closer to the fire than the others, decorated with bone and hide. Different. They spoke with gestures, with sounds, and people listened. Belief formed quickly, because belief gives meaning to fear, and meaning is powerful. Offerings were placed near the fire. Food, tools. Not everyone questioned it. Some bowed their heads. Others followed without thinking. Order was emerging. Rules appeared, unspoken at first, then understood. Where to stand, when to speak, who decide. The fire no longer belonged to everyone. It belonged to those who controlled it. Stone structures began to rise. Not homes, centers. Places where people gathered. Places where decisions were made. From a distance, it looked like unity. From within, hierarchy had been born. A leader stood before the group, not chosen by strength, but by belief. Their position was accepted, not challenged. The community stood silent. They waited. They obeyed. As the sun set, shadows stretched across the land. Primitive humans were no longer guided only by hungering. They lived within systems, within rules. Power had found its place, quietly, permanently. This was not the birth of kings, not yet, but it was the moment humanity learned to be ruled and to rule others. What followed would shape cities, gods, empires, but all of it began here, with fire, with belief, with control, to be continued.